Welcome to Two Witness Teaching Program. Two Witness, a Bible teaching program to change and transform people. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Let's dive into it.
To chapter 33, Jacob has this plan about how he's going to meet his brother Esau. Now, if we look back at the beginning of 32, in verse 7, it says, Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people into two. So in case one half of his people got attacked, the other half could escape. Well, we see by the time he gets down into 19, 20, 21, he's got them all together again, and he's lodging with them. Well, then we see plan 3. In the middle of the night, he sends them all away. He sends his wives, his children, everyone away in the night, so he's alone. And so now we see plan 4. It's going to come out actually differently than we've seen his first 3 plans were laid out. Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost, so his favorites were closest to him. And he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and children and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which God hath graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? What do you mean by sending all these flocks to me? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face as though I have seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. Now we find even today in the Middle East that the offering of a gift is a very strong symbol of friendship, and to refuse a gift is very powerful. So it has a great meaning that Esau accepted the gift, even though he didn't need the flocks. It was extending his friendship toward his brother. Verse 12, and he said, Let us take our journey. Let's go. I'll go before thee. And he, Jacob, said to him, My Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that goeth before me, and the children be able to endure, until I come to my Lord at Seir. And Esau said, Let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, What needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir.
Verse 16 is, So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him on houses and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. 18 is, And Jacob came to Shalem, the cities of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. When he came from Padanaram, and pitched his tent before the cities, and he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent to the hands of the children of Hamah. Shechem's fathers offered us 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it is El-Elohe Israel. Wow. Chapter 34 of the book of Genesis, verses 1 and Diana, so the daughters of Aleas, which she bore unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the sons of Hamor, the Hivites, princes over the countries, saw her, she took her and lay with her and defiled her. And his soul cleave unto Dan or Dinah, the daughters of Jacob, and he loved the damsels and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto the father Hamor, saying, get me this damsel for a wife, because I love her. Jacob heard that he had as a defiled Dinah, his daughters, and now his sons were with his cattle in the fields, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the fathers of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out over the fields when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had a root folly in Israel in lines with Jacob's daughters, which things ought not to be done, something that is a taboo in the land. You've done something wrong. Verse 8, and Hamor communed with them, saying, the soul of my son is Shechem's, longeth for your daughter, and I pray you give her to him to a wife. Verses 9 is, and make use a marriage with us, and give your daughter unto us, and take our daughter also for a wife to yourself. Verses 10 is, and you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you, dwell and tread you therein, and get you a possession therein. And Shechem said unto her father, and unto the brethren, let me find grace into your eyes, and what you shall say unto me, I'll give, or rather I'll do. Verse 12 asks me never that so much dowries and gifts, and I will give according as you shall say unto me. So, but give me the damsel for a wife. I love her, or rather to a wife. Love this damsel. Then verse 13 says, and the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah or Diana, their sister.
Okay, so on 13, it says that the sons of Jacob answered them deceitfully. They were not happy that their sister had been defiled with Shechem. And they said to him, we cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. That would be a disgrace. But in this will we consent unto you, if you will be as we, that every male of you be circumcised. Then we will give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. Now these are the sons of Jacob saying this. This is the authority they have within their family. 17, but if you will not hearken to us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. Now, we'll discuss the bulk of this when we're finished reading it, but here's a few things we want to remember. Shechem is more honorable than all the house of his father, and he's the one that defiled their sister. He's committing fornication. So if that's the most honorable member of their household, we have to wonder what the Hivites were like. Verse 20, and Hamor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their city and communed with the men of the city, saying, These men are peaceable with us. Therefore let them dwell in the land and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, that they will dwell with us. So in combining themselves with Jacob and all that he has, they're going to become greater as a people. They'll be more protected. They'll be more prosperous. So in speaking with the men of the city, they're saying, this is a great idea. Let's do it. 24. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And here we see where the deception comes in. And it comes to pass on the third day when they were sore. So I did a little bit of research on this, and for some reason the third day is the part when the men would be the weakest, and they would be less able to resist, less able to fight. On the third day, that when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, and they all had Leah as their mother, so they were physically, biologically brothers and sisters with each other. Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. 27. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep and their oxen and their asses and that which was in the city and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and took all their little ones and their wives, took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, You have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, Should he deal with our sister as a harlot?
Or 35, excuse me. And God said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God, that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto his household, and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. Another testimony to Jacob's heart now. Something's changed in Jacob. It's not okay to do wrong with Jacob anymore. And in verse 35, he's cleaning house. He's saying, get rid of this other junk that you guys have and the things that you're believing in. Let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. Verse 5, And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them. The terror of God, so that God causes the others to fear Jacob and not mess with them as he's about to do this. And they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar, and called that place El Bethel, because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak tree. And the name of it is called Elon Bechuth. Verse 9, and God appeared unto Jacob again, and he came out of Padanaram and blessed him. And God reaffirms a covenant with Jacob. God said unto him, thy name is Jacob, thy name shall not be called Jacob any more, but Israel shall be thy name. Remember, he was told that with the angel before he came to Esau. You are Israel, you are Prince of God now. In Genesis 32:28. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. And God went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering thereupon, and he poured oil upon. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him, Bethel. And I think God is really pleased now. He's seen a change in Jacob, and when he's telling him and he's reaffirming this covenant with him, God is actually pleased. Jacob's come around. He's cleaning house. He says, no idolatry in my house. And now, when God's reaffirming this covenant, God is actually pleased with Jacob. Verse 16, and they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath, and Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor, or severe labor. And Rachel was now giving birth to a second son. And it came to pass, when she was in hard or severe labor, that the midwife said unto her, fear not, thou shalt have this son also. The son, this is a terrible labor, terrible birth, but the son's going to live. Verse 18, and it came to pass as her soul was in departing, so Rachel is dying in childbirth, for she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. Now, Benoni means son of my sorrow. So in giving birth of this son, the sorrow is that Rachel is herself dying in the process. But Jacob changes his name to Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. So Jacob was not going to have this son be the son of sorrow. He changes it, says, the son of my right hand. And we see later that Jacob really loves Benjamin. Okay, Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Jacob set a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. Now, we don't see too much that's commendable in Rachel's life. Hopefully, she got cleaned up and turned around and serving God. But most of what we see in her life is sadly a lot of selfishness, a lot of sin as well. Verse 21, and Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Edar. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in the land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard it, or he found out about it. Now Reuben was the oldest of Leah, and Bilhah was Rachel's handmaid that she had given to Jacob. So this was, he slept with, when he says an aunt, this is one of the mothers of the 12. And this is going to come up later, and when Jacob is dying, he's going to bring that up with his son.
Can I say something?
Certainly.
It's interesting to note here that Jacob had only been gone a little over 20 years. And remember, he worked the first 7 years for Leah, and then he started having sons. So these sons still would have to be in their teens. somewhere in their late teens, right? When they're doing all this, when they're doing this to their, avenging their sister Dinah, when we're hearing stories of them at this point. They're not that old. They're still young men.
Certainly young men. I haven't done the math to tell you exactly how much, but definitely. Okay, so then we see a list of the sons of Leah. We see the sons of Rachel, the sons of Bilhah, the sons of Zilpah. Verse 27, and Jacob came unto Isaac his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. Jacob finally comes to see his father again. And the days of Isaac were 180 years, or 180 years old, and Isaac gave up the ghost, and died, and was gathered unto his people, being an old and full of days, and his son Esau and Jacob buried him. So the patriarchs are dying of very old age for their time. They're living long, they're having full lives, they're prospering, they're being blessed, and they're a pattern that we look to of what God would have for us. Anything else with that, or you want to begin the next chapter?
I'll begin.
Okay.
Chapter 36 goes into some more information about Esau, Jacob's brother. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. So later when we're reading, and we read about the Edomites, or the place that becomes called Edom, we know these are the direct descendants of Esau. And when we get into the prophets, we'll see there's actually a prophecy from God against Edom. And historically, we know that Edom was destroyed, but we'll have more about that in the future. So Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, and we know this from before because it says it was very grievous to his parents. He took Hittites, he took Hivites. Here's a list of his wives and his sons. Verse 6, Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. So he left. For their riches were more than they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. So God is prospering them both. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And then all the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites. And we can see in the next 30 verses, he has quite a list of descendants. If we skip ahead to 43, they're dwelling in Edom according to their habitations and the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. So God doesn't fail to give us a history of how he fulfills his promises, or of how people forsake the promise of God, how they obey him or disobey him. But we can follow some of his family through and see who it is they became, what happened to them, how did God deal with them, how did they interact with the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt and went to take hold of the land of promise. So that's why these lists are valuable to us.
Amen. Let's get into the story of Joseph. We'll see how far we can go today. Chapter 37, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. And these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Interesting. Their evil report, what they were doing, how they were behaving. Now, look at the next verse. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. Well, I think this is probably because of his excellent character, which is going to be revealed later. He's come back, he says, look at, this is how your other sons are behaving. I think you should know this. And Jacob loves Joseph more than the rest of his brothers. And and only in the sense that he's closer to him because he has a more, a higher, greater character. Because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors as well to show his love for him. Now when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him. Right? And we know that. And if someone realizes God's favor or blessing is upon us, they don't say, wow, that's great. I really love you. It's like, I hate you all the more. Right? So his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, and they hated him, and they persecute him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. Verse 5, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him all the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. And behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood around about and made obeisance to my sheaf, or they bowed down and worshipped mine. And his brethren said unto him, shalt thou indeed reign over us? Shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. Like, we don't like your character. We don't like how you're showing us up all the time. We don't like how our Father is impressed with you and how he honors you. And we certainly don't like you telling us dreams about how you're going to be over us in the future. Verse 9, and he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars made obeisance to me. Wow. This is way out there. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and even his father rebuked him for this. The sun, moon, and stars are all going to bow down to you? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come and bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? You know, he thinks, wow, I think I like him, but he's getting a little proud now. And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their flocks in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here am I. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren. Well, Jacob trusts Joseph. And well with the flocks, and bring me word again. Because what did Joseph do? He'd tell him if something wasn't going right, and there's an evil report to tell him. He'd let him know what was going on. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, and we'll say, some evil beast hath devoured him. And then we'll see what will become of these dreams that he's saying, where we're all going to serve him. We'll take him out. Joseph's brothers' purposes was to stop his dreams from coming true. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and he said, let us not kill him. So Reuben couldn't go along with this. This is too much for him. Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. So let's just put him in the pit. Let's not kill him. He's thinking, this will suffice my brothers. They're upset with him. They can do this to him, but then I'll go back, I'll let him out, and he'll be okay. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him, and they cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, carrying it down to Egypt. So some people with their merchandise are coming by, going to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Let's not murder him. What we can do is sell him to these folks. He'll go off as a slave, a servant, and we'll have gain from it even. And then we don't even have to kill him. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother in our flesh. And his brethren were content. They all agreed to it, except I think we're going to find Reuben here later. Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And this is something they did when they were very upset, is they tore their garments. What has gone on here? I meant to come back and get him, and he's not here. And he returned to his brethren and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and they killed a kid of goats, and dipped the goat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be of thy son's coat or not. And he knew it, and he said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him, and Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces now, because he saw the blood-stained coat that the sons had made. And Jacob then rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and he mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and his daughters rose up to comfort him, and he refused to be comforted. And he said, I will go down into the grave unto my son, mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him, Joseph, into Egypt, unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's, and a captain of the guard. But think of this, what you've done to your brother, and now what you're doing to the father. For many days they were coming to him. He was just grieving. Think what they're doing to the father. And they're not confessing. They're not repenting. They're letting their father suffer like this and keeping up the lie.
So we'll start on Genesis 38. It came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua, and he took her and went in unto her. So he married a Canaanite woman, someone outside of his family. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was in Chezib when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. Now there's, I think, a powerful scripture all by itself. Is there judgment for sin? Yes, there is. Verse 8, Judah said unto Onan, the secondborn, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up a seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. So we see the firstborn, the secondborn, in rebellion against God. It says God slew him. God slew him. Now remember, the Messiah is going to come through Judah. And the firstborn's already gone. The secondborn's already gone. So we see, like as Brian was saying, God changes his plan as he works with man. And somehow the Messiah will come through the tribe of Judah. Okay, back to verse 11 of Genesis 38. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow at thy father's house, till Shelah my son be grown." For he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. So we see the third child died here. Judah was comforted. He went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. So Judah did not keep his promise to her, and he also was not keeping the law, because she would technically have married the third son. Now remember, Matthew 22:24 is another reference to this. Matthew 22:24, remember when they come to Jesus and try and trick him with the law. Master, Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Now there were 7 brethren, and he goes on to say, all of the 7 brothers die, there's still no seed. Whose wife will she be in the resurrection? So they refer back to this. So even down to 7 brothers, they refer to it. Well, Judah withheld his third son, so she was going to take matters into her own hands. 15, when Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, for she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, 3 things here, thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thine hands. His signet is his seal. It's like his signature. It's what will identify him as being him. His bracelets and his staff. And a staff not only is the tool of a shepherd, but as the head of a tribe, it would have symbolized his authority within that tribe, and it should have been recognized as being his. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. Very foolish thing he does here. It's like Brian said, it's like leaving your wallet with her. And she arose and went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her. The shame is not ashamed for his action. The shame is in, what if I get caught? If I don't get my signet back, if I don't get my staff and my bracelets, I might get found out. Verse 24, it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. So he wasn't going to keep the original law. He was going to keep the judgment part of the law that they had. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and the bracelets and the staff? And Judah acknowledged them and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son. And he knew her again no more.
And it came to pass, let's stop right there a minute. There's another reference to this in the book of Ruth. Now we know Ruth is the story of the kinsman redeemer. She had lost her husband. There was no one to redeem her, and so they were seeking out the nearest kinsman to marry her. Now in Ruth chapter 4, starting in verse 1, we know Boaz wants to marry her, but there's a closer kinsman. So he brings this kinsman before the elders at the gate, and he says, there's this land that belongeth to a kinsman of ours. Will you redeem it? And he says, I'll redeem it. Boaz says, okay, the day that you redeem this land, you also take the deceased owner's wife to be your own, and you'll raise up seed unto him, that his name will be preserved. In verse 6, the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. I don't want to share what I have with some other dead man's offspring. He says, I cannot inherit. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. So again, he takes off his shoe before the elders. He gave it to him, and that was the testimony before all of them that this agreement would be made. He was giving up his right to marry Ruth. So Ruth, the Moabitess, becomes Boaz's wife, verse 10, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren and from the gate in this place. And this is interesting because in verse 12, and let thy house be like the house of Pharez, who Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So this is what we're about to read here in these last few verses in Genesis. Tamar bears a son named Pharez. And this is significant enough that the Lord would make reference of it again in the book of Ruth, comparing it to this relationship. So let's go back to Genesis 38:27. And it came to pass in the time of her travail, that behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out. And she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Pharez. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. So Pharez, who technically was the one who came out first, the firstborn that fully came out first, is the seed of Judah that is the genealogy of Christ. It wasn't Judah's firstborn, it wasn't his secondborn, it was his thirdborn. It was the son that was born by the daughter-in-law, whom he withheld his son from. So Pharez is in the line of Christ through Joseph. You'll see in Matthew 1, but you'll also see in Luke 3, in Mary's line, he also is in Mary's line. So I believe that's why this chapter is here. It'll be referred to later when we see Judah come up again, but also we see the book of Genesis being very clear about preserving the history of the line of Christ all the way from Adam down to Mary and Joseph.
All right. Yeah, chapter 38, not a pretty chapter. There's little that you can find that anyone's doing anything right there. And we see again, God's working, God's moving. His plans are coming forth, but in spite of people, not because of what they're doing. That would have never been any of these acts, anything God would lead someone to do. But God is going to come through the line of Judah with the Messiah, and it will be through Pharez. So it's in spite of what they're doing. God will use it. God will work with what they've done, but it's not his plan. He would never have devised such a scheme as chapter 38. Very, very bad. Chapter 39, we get back to Joseph. We remember Joseph's been sold into slavery by his brothers, and now we're going to hear about his time in Egypt. Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. So Joseph's quickly prospering in Egypt, rising up to the top of the captain of the guard's house, over in charge of his whole household. Verse 5, it came to pass from the time that he was made overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. So he's turned everything into Joseph's hand. I trust you completely. I see everything you do is prospering for me. I'm not even keeping the books anymore, Joseph. You run the whole place. And Joseph was a goodly person. If you look at goodly and well-favored, you're going to see, there's no denying it, the term handsome is in there. So this is setting up what's coming next. Verse 7, it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Verse 10, and it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie with her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and was fled forth, that she called forth unto the men of her house, and spake unto them, saying, See, he, or Potiphar, have brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I had lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled, and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his lord Potiphar came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. That's kind of interesting because we're going to see mention that it's a place of the king's prisoners. And if you study that and you look behind some of the Hebrew words behind this, you find out it's kind of the special or elite folks that are in this prison. So I believe it was one of the nicer places to be. I mean, he was put in the place where you put officers, okay? We're going to see that. The head baker, the head butler, they go into this place. So it wasn't the common prison. It was a place for people that had places of position and authority where they were held. Verse 21, But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. In other words, he was in charge of it. He was directing it. He's the overseer of the prison now. Just can't keep Joseph down. God is lifting him up wherever he goes. God's with him. Verse 23, the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Chapter 40. I'm 40. Okay. We'll keep moving. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt, which is Pharaoh. And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers, and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound, or confined, shut up.
May I make a comment?
Yeah.
I've never noticed this before, but in chapter 3, or verse 3, he put them in ward, or under guard, in the house of the captain of the guard. Who's the captain of the guard? Potiphar. So basically, this special prison where the king's prisoners were kept was in the house of the captain of the guard, or he was under Potiphar's watch. So it kind of gives you a different picture than languishing in a deep, damp dungeon somewhere.
Yeah, that was interesting to see as we were studying this. Exactly. It seems to be. Yeah, Martha Stewart, Camp Cupcake. So, not to downgrade Joseph being locked up, but praise God. Wouldn't that be how it'd be? I mean, if you're going to be in prison, he puts you in the easiest spot, and I really think that happened. Okay, verse 4, and the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, or he attended to the chief butler, the chief baker. And I've read some other commentaries where these positions are high positions. Chief butler, chief baker, that goes to family. So Pharaoh would put family in these spots, or someone that's really has the favor of Pharaoh. So as these people are locked up, well, there's Joseph in there serving them, taking care of them. And they continued a season in the ward. And they, the chief butler, chief baker, dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream. But the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. So both of them have a dream. They're different dreams. That's what it means that they dreamt according to the interpretation. They were different dreams. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward in his Lord's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. So the chief butler is going to give his dream. The chief butler speaks first. He tells his dream to Joseph. And he said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches. And it was as though it budded, and her blossom shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, and I pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. Now, Joseph hears a dream, and immediately God gives him the interpretation. Joseph said unto him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head, or remember you, that's what that phrase means, and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand after the former manner when thou wast his butler. And this was a surprise to me. When I looked up the Hebrew word for butler, it means drink bearer. I had some other idea because of television and other things where butlers are doing all kinds of other things, but the root behind butler is you're the keeper of the liquor. You're the cupbearer. Or even in English, if you get back to the root word in the English word, you mean you're the servant in charge of the liquor. So that's what the butler is. And Joseph is saying, within 3 days, and is this something that you could test? boy, he's putting it on the line here. If it doesn't happen in 3 days, you're a false prophet. You can't interpret dreams. But no, here he is. He's not saying sometime, somewhere out there. God gave him this, and it was definable. 3 days, you'll be back with Pharaoh. Verse 14, but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and there also have I done nothing that they should put me in this dungeon. Now that's the one word that makes it seem pretty bad where he was at. And maybe it was. But you see a lot of other words that have been used that don't have that implication, where he was in this house. And house also, if you look at that word, means family, or this group of people. So we'll see. I'm not sure about that, but I think that he was in a better prison or under house arrest, perhaps. Verse 16, when the chief butler saw that the interpretation was good, chief baker, now that's an interesting phrase. This may indicate something about the chief baker. He wasn't the first to give his dream, but when he said, oh, wow, this is good, it's working out for the butler, when I saw that it was good, I'll tell mine to Joseph, thinking he'll get a good interpretation. I was also in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head, or remember you, and he'll lift up your head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and the chief baker, or remembered them, among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into the Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph has interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot about him. Did you want to mention something with that? That's one new thing for me there was, I think, the first mention of birthday there. Pharaoh's birthday party. He remembers the butler and the baker, puts the baker to death. The butler he restores back to him. It was all part of his birthday celebration, I guess.
The only other mention of a birthday in the Bible is New Testament, when Herod has a birthday and the daughter of Herodotus comes and dances for him, and he says, what shall I give thee? And it turned out to be the head of John the Baptist, as per her mother's counsel. So 2 really good birthdays here, lots of death.